The Council of American Islamic Relations says in regard to homes, it is unacceptable for a lawmaker whose duty it is to represent all constituents in his district to be a member of an organization that honors traitors and white supremacists. Holmes declined the council's request, saying he has no plans on leaving the Sons of Confederate Veterans.
One officer did not kill George Floyd. This was a gang of officers who publicly on Facebook lynched George Floyd for nearly 10 minutes.
Members of the Muslim community say their rights are being violated by an anti-terrorism group that's illegally surveilling them.
The Council on American Islamic Relations, also known as CAIR, accusing the Investigative Project on Terrorism of paying informants to conduct surveillance on prominent Muslims, like Katanani, around the nation. CAIR recently fired the director of its Ohio chapter after it was revealed he had been an informant for the IPT.
It's not all too surprising, to be honest. We were very much aware that the Muslim community is being spied on, whether it's by FBI or other law enforcement agencies.
CAIR New Jersey Executive Director Salahdin Maksud says it's upsetting to see groups like the IPT try to discredit Muslims simply because of their faith. But the group denies this is the case. In a statement, IPT's founder, Stephen Emerson, called CAIR a hate group, saying in part, "We have no interest in individuals, religious practices, and beliefs. The IPT has never spied on the American Muslim community, nor on American Muslim leaders, as CAIR has alleged. We have investigated individual leaders such as Muhammad Katanani, the Imam of Islamic Center of Passaic County. We do investigate the radical agenda pursued by CAIR, as well as extremist and bigoted comments made by similarly militant Islamist organizations and leaders, which is in the same public interest as exposing the radical agenda of white supremacist organizations."
They tried very hard to undermine our work, right? To try and quote unquote expose us for, being what we're not, right? Maybe accusing us of being a terrorist organization or being a radical Islamist group. And they failed miserably in all of it.
Oklahoma City mayoral candidate Carol Hefner is at the center of controversy after defending past offensive comments towards the Muslim community.
Felice Romero spoke to leaders in the Muslim community and joins us now live in our newsroom with this story. Felice.
Carol Hefner saying during a debate that Islam should be eradicated from our world. Leaders within the community tell me not only are these comments hurtful, but they are dangerous.
A mayoral debate sparks outrage.
You've called Islam an evil culture, not a religion.
I don't know how I personally am getting rid of it, but I would like to have those conversations.
Candidate Carol Hefner bringing up Islam when asked to address previous offensive comments made towards Muslims.
It's insipid. It should be eradicated from our culture, from our world. Unfortunately, it's been here since the beginning of time.
The state of Oklahoma is home to over 30,000 Muslims.
Whether it's our food pantries that assist Oklahomans of all faiths and all cultures, free medical clinics, or whether it's getting out and volunteering with other organizations, we care about our city as much as anyone and everyone else.
CAIR Oklahoma and the Islamic Society of Greater Oklahoma City concerned following the divisive comments.
Anytime anyone in a position of power or influence says something negative against the Muslim community, we always brace ourselves and get concerned about hate and violence that has historically targeted our community.
Both say they have reached out to Hefner multiple times.
Somebody who's running to be the mayor of the largest city in our state should have the decency to sit down and speak to people, especially and in particular when she has said things that offends the community. To make accusations that are completely false and historically inaccurate about one of the integral faith communities, not only in our state, but our country and the entire world, is very much offensive and hurtful.
In from around the state about this video. As we reported last week, a fight broke out between two teens at Bridgewater Mall. The video here shows the officers breaking up the fight and treating each boy very differently. One teen is tackled to the ground, handcuffed and pinned down. Meanwhile, officers sit the other teen on the couch. The New Jersey chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations is now calling for the police officers to be removed from the Bridgewater Police Department while the incident gets investigated, saying in part, quote, "The incident is outrageous."
Early Sunday morning, a violent racist encounter in Akron's Highland Square.
Shut your mouth.
The first victim is 23-year-old Cameron Morgan. We reached out to her multiple times today to tell her story, but could not reach her. Morgan told police that punch split her lip and that the suspect, Andrew Walls, then pulled her by the hair to the ground where she hit her head. Seconds later, Walls, according to police, punched a second woman. Morgan said she noticed Walls was carrying a gun and a knife and was highly intoxicated. The Cleveland chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR Cleveland, that means Walls should face federal hate crime charges. CAIR Cleveland, in a statement, said Walls is the vice president of the Akron-Canton chapter of the Proud Boys. Executive Director Julie Shearson wrote, "This appalling assault was clearly an act of racist hate and must be prosecuted as such by law enforcement. As violent racism continues to rise nationwide, it is essential that incidents like this are taken seriously."
These handmade bombs found inside of an apartment in Maine allegedly created to cause harm hundreds of miles away in Chicago. That was the plot federal investigators say they thwarted after raiding Xavier Pelkey's home on February 11th. Inside his bedroom, they say they found these rigged explosives, which included fireworks bundled together with tape. According to court documents, the 18-year-old told agents he taped the fireworks together because he wanted to make a, quote, bigger boom.
We should be looking at hate crime charges. We should be looking at terrorism charges.
The executive director of CAIR Chicago condemning the suspect's actions.
Nothing can possibly explain or justify or allow us to remotely understand why.
The city of Troy from the beginning has tried to claim that they didn't discriminate against Muslims in general, which we know is not true. Just 2 years prior to us filing suit, they allowed a lot of variances for a Christian place of worship, which happens to be one of the largest mega churches in the state of Michigan.
Amy Jacore is the staff attorney with CAIR Michigan. She says Troy's zoning board has repeatedly denied variances for the Adam Community Center to open a mosque in this banquet hall on Rochester Road. CAIR filed suit against the city of Troy in 2018. The Department of Justice followed in 2019, alleging violations of religious land use on the part of the city. Federal Judge Nancy Edmonds agreed, paving the way now for the mosque to possibly open.
The Department of Justice winning their case is absolutely a big victory, but really it's only a partial victory because our case remains undecided.
At issue, damages. Adam Community Center says they have lost $1 million over the past few years because they haven't been able to open the mosque. They still have a mortgage payment and no money coming in. The two sides are supposed to be working on a settlement, and Jacore remains hopeful.
We're really hoping that the Department of Justice's win will really motivate the city of Troy to sit down and have meaningful conversations with us that will allow our clients to get into the space.
The Council on American Islamic Relations says an anonymous source sent them this video of a virtual class last spring at Santa Ana Community College. They say it shows adjunct professor Jamie McDonough pushing anti-Muslim generalizations and stereotypes as she talks about social norms in Muslim countries.
You have a complete patriarchal society that you live in. That is where it's where men dominate women.
In their view, repeatedly using Islamophobic tropes to diminish Muslim men and women.
Husband can cheat and have mistresses, but the wife must never step out on the husband. Do you know they still stone women to death? I just can't imagine. I mean, I'm assuming that's going to take quite some time for this person to die from all the brain trauma and head trauma, right?
The group contacted the school and the district to share their outrage and concerns about what they call blanket negative generalizations of a population of 2 billion people. The Rancho Santiago Community College District released a statement confirming they have launched a formal investigation, saying district and college leadership in no way condones the statement that was made. The statement does not reflect the mission and values of the district and does not uphold our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. CAIR says it wants the professor to apologize and to acknowledge what she said was hurtful and inaccurate.
Do you see where there would be some concern from some people?
I don't know, because those blacks live over there, and that's why I asked.
Okay.
Probably in the past, but you know, it is what it is. Everybody does. I don't use the N-word a lot, but occasionally I might have said it.
The house next to the apartments is Dollar General.
Already black people, then. That's what it is.
Two groups are now calling on the sheriff to resign.
There are two groups now calling for the Prairie County Sheriff to resign.
There are two groups calling for the immediate resignation of Prairie County Sheriff Rick Hickman. I spoke with him on the phone today. He remains adamant that he said nothing wrong and that he is not going to resign. Comment tonight from Washington, where the Council on American Islamic Relations are saying someone who admits to using racist slurs is clearly unfit to protect and serve a diverse population. We urge Sheriff Hickman to resign and instead pursue a career that does not impact the lives of minority communities.
Tonight, the Democratic Party of Arkansas chair, the ACLU, and the Council on American Islamic Relations called Hickman unfit to hold office.
The Council on American Islamic Relations also calling for Hickman to step down, saying, quote, someone who admits to using racial slurs is clearly unfit to protect and serve a diverse population. We urge Sheriff Hickman to resign and instead pursue a career that does not impact the lives of minority communities.
Council on American Islamic Relations is now requesting that the Orange County State Attorney's Office seek hate crime enhancement on charges already filed.
This after an Orlando Muslim was attacked earlier this month in what the organization calls a racially motivated assault and battery. Gail Pascal Brown spoke with CAIR Florida attorney tonight.
Yeah, the attorney says the battery was due to prejudice from the men being Muslim. His client was dressed in traditional attire. The attorney says Victor Dubalkis not only insulted the men, but also the religion of Islam. 72-year-old Victor Dubalkis is in the Orange County jail charged with battery and assault. He was arrested April 6th. The arrest report says the defendant said he had an issue with the Muslims sitting outside the Orlando business. Now, in this witness video, you can see Victor Dubalkis allegedly pouring his beer on Ghulam Sharif and then throw his Corona bottle towards the victim. The report also says Dubalkis said that he was going to return and kill all of them.
We're hoping the police, the investigators, and the state attorney look at this as a hate crime because the incident happened, we believe, solely based on our client's race and religion. It was our client's visible appearance as a Muslim, which actually attracted Victor to harass our clients. He wouldn't leave them alone after they constantly told him to leave. And then he eventually assaulted and battered them.
The attorney says Victor Dubalkis is a real estate agent. He's also looking into a possibility of asking for an administrative probe by Florida's Real Estate Commission and Florida Department of Professional and Business Regulations.
What our investigation found is causing alarm among civil liberties groups, but also support from some lawmakers. And in the day's most dramatic development, possible court action.
If Amtrak starts using watch list information to screen passengers, the Council on American Islamic Relations will file a lawsuit to challenge it.
A vow to sue over the program we first revealed on Wednesday on concerns about mistakes, profiling, and harassment, says Gadir Abbas.
Do something useful with their time rather than harass innocent Muslim travelers as they go about their lives.
Amtrak has now given us its first statement on this national security exclusive 7 days after we first asked. It confirms that the passenger screening that stunned civil liberties groups and caught members of Congress off guard is already being done. Amtrak told us, quote, the assessment is an early step in the development of further mitigation measures to proactively identify and act on potential threats to public safety on Amtrak. The TSA has also now given us its first statement confirming the first results are already in. Quote, the collection of data and analysis has already occurred. We are not vetting people while they travel. This assessment only involves historical travel. On Thursday, the Council on American Islamic Relations threatened to sue if the program goes forward. On Friday, the civil rights organization told us, quote, nothing we've read so far changes our concerns about this program and our opposition to it.
A civil rights group says workers at a McDonald's on Meadow Street in Chicopee intentionally put bacon on a fish sandwich that a Muslim woman had ordered for one of her children. Followers of Islam are not supposed to eat pork products.
The Council on American Islamic Relations announced that it had filed a discrimination complaint on the woman's behalf with the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination.
The complaint alleges that McDonald's employees added the unwanted bacon intentionally in an effort to offend and humiliate the woman. So far, McDonald's has not commented on that incident.
The Council on American Islamic Relations wants FBI involvement nearly 2 weeks after a possible hate crime where a woman attacked an East Grand Forks mosque during morning prayer.
57-year-old Suzette Gay Thompson of Thief River Falls is arrested on an arson charge and could face up to 20 years in prison and a $20,000 fine. Jailani Hussein, the executive director of CAIR Minnesota, says Thompson's charge should be upgraded to a hate crime. He believes hate crimes are better addressed under federal support.
Bureau has more resources. They track different groups better, and they are able to investigate it better, identifying hidden motives when it's not obvious for local police. And most local police are not actually properly trained in identifying hate crimes.
Hussein says the Muslim community in East Grand Forks is still in shock that an older woman would drive more than an hour away to start the fire in a house of worship. He says less people are coming to prayers fearing for another incident.
Well, the Minnesota Department of Corrections is being called out for what some say is a lack of action on allegations of sexual assault at Shakopee Women's Prison. Several groups rally outside the prison today asking for justice. They say that this prison has a history of sexual violence and abuse between guard and inmate, something they say the DOC has ignored.
They are not above the law, and they should be held to the same standard as everybody else.
We asked the DOC for their take on the situation. In a statement, they told us in part, quote, we always have and always will take allegations of misconduct seriously, but the demands by this group reflect a lack of understanding of the legal process that must guide our actions. And you can find the DOC's entire response on WCCO.com.
The Council on American Islamic Relations, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization,
condemned a planned white nationalist music festival in Boise.
The event features bands that reference Nazi history.
It's scheduled for this weekend. The council says one of the bands featured on the event's poster, Beer Hall Putsch, references a failed 1923 Nazi coup attempt by Adolf Hitler.
The exact location of the event is unknown. The council recently condemned racist flyers and campaigns in Connecticut, Minnesota, and Alabama.
Also new this morning, Minneapolis City Council member Michael Rainville is apologizing for Islamophobic and anti-black comments made at his community public safety event yesterday. During that event, Rainville was discussing the uptick in crime over the 4th of July weekend and made comments about Somali youth. Take a listen.
Today at 1:30 I'm going over to the mosque in Northeast to meet with some Somali elders and tell them that their children can no longer have that type of behavior that they're exhibiting both at the Stone Arch Bridge and down in the Mill District. So.
The Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations was quick to call him out. Plus, 3 other council members released a statement saying that Council Member Rainville's statements were dangerous and promote the over-criminalization of Somali and Muslim communities. They also add that none of the current suspects from the weekend are from Rainville's district. Now, Rainville released a statement last night and apologized for his choice of words. He says in part, quote, "I want to address a comment I made earlier today and apologize. I was trying to convey that we need more support for our youth. But the fact is that what I said and the way I said it was not appropriate, and I wrongfully singled out Somali youth."
A realtor in southern Indiana is under fire after sharing an Islamophobic post on her personal Facebook page. Glenda Gasparin is the CEO of the Southern Indiana Realtors Association. She said she copied and pasted from another user. The post claims that it stemmed from a diversity training seminar. The person states that a Muslim leader said the faith believes in killing non-believers, which ensures them a place in heaven. The Council on American Islamic Relations condemned the post, calling it false and Islamophobic. They said, quote, "Everyone, black, brown, or white, and no matter their faith or background, deserves equal treatment when attempting to find a home. Gasparin's choice to share bigoted material with her followers certainly leaves a fair doubt as to her ability to provide that equal treatment. She should immediately meet with local Muslim leaders to learn facts about our faith or resign her position."
I have an update now on a story about the Mississippi man who attempted to run over a group of black teens. We first told you about this incident Tuesday on Action News 5 at 5. Well, now a civil rights organization seeks federal hate crime charges for Mark Hall. Video on social media shows that man driving down the street in Ripley towards 9 black teenagers on bikes, laughing and yelling a racial slur at them. Now, we can't show you the video because of our company's copyright laws, but as of now, Hall is only charged with 9 counts of enhanced simple assault.
I mean, whenever any community is targeted, whether it's Muslims or African Americans or any other minority community is targeted, it has the same impact because we're all in the same boat when it comes to bigotry and intolerance.
That video out of Oak Lawn, it shows police officers hitting a 17-year-old as he's being taken into custody. The teen is in the hospital tonight. His family is demanding answers.
Well, police say he had a semi-automatic gun at the time, and charges in the case are still pending.
This isn't about what somebody may be doing. This is about how apprehension, how somebody's arrested, what happens post-arrest.
Officers are allowed to use force to subdue people, but they're not allowed to use excessive force. And this was extremely excessive and savage.
Police dashcam video starts with the car already pulled over for what police say was a missing front registration and odor of cannabis. A passenger who Oak Lawn police say is Hadi Abudillah gets out of the back seat at the officer's request and almost immediately takes off running. Video picks up with another police cruiser pursuing this 17-year-old who continues running from officers. A final dashcam clip shows the teen already pinned to the ground in a nearby parking lot and shows 2 officers repeatedly punching his legs and head. Police say Abudillah is refusing to comply and clutching a bag against his chest.
Once they feared for their safety and they had reasonable suspicion that he was armed with a weapon in that bag and he was not complying and he was trying to open that bag, they were in fear of their safety.
Officers eventually tased the teen and handcuff him. This is the .25 caliber gun Oak Lawn police say they found inside Abudillah's bag, loaded with 3 rounds of ammunition.
I don't think that's what matters here. I think what matters here is that you have 2 individuals, grown men, on top of a juvenile, smashing his head into the pavement. That's what matters here.
United will never be defeated.
Tonight, the 17-year-old's mother is speaking out along with other members of the Arab American community.
demanding that Oak Lawn fire the officers involved in the incident.
We just want to say that we support the family in this matter, and we're trying to make sure that these police officers are held accountable, that they're not hiding behind their badges.
The protest comes on the same day as a new report is released on Muslims in Illinois. It claims that 53% say they've either been a victim of a hate crime or have been discriminated against.
Upcoming basketball trip to Israel is being met with backlash from a Muslim rights group.
The Council on American Islamic Relations, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization.
The Council on American Islamic Relations, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization.
The Council on American Islamic Relations.
The Council on American Islamic Relations
Sent out a public statement that
called
on the athletic department to cancel the trip,
or at least meet with, quote, ordinary Palestinians.
And learn about Israel's system of what they say is
Israel apartheid without Israeli handlers.
Players from Auburn's University basketball team will visit historical sites in Israel and play 3 exhibition games against Israeli teams. The team also is expected to meet with Palestinian national team's coach.
Two Muslim men are accusing Alaska Airlines of violating their civil rights when they were kicked off a flight for texting in Arabic. The Council on American Islamic Relations says this incident is another egregious example of flying while Muslim.
In a statement to King 5, Alaska said it, quote, strictly prohibits unlawful discrimination and that they take such complaints very seriously. The airline added it could not comment further on the lawsuit.
We don't want you here.
Begin with a shocking incident caught on camera.
Tonight, Plano police are answering some questions about the arrest of a woman caught on camera threatening and physically attacking a group of Indian American women.
I hate you Indians. That's why. It's everywhere I go. You Indians are everywhere.
And things got worse. The woman, Esmeralda Upton, didn't want to be filmed and started hitting the person recording the video. Banerjee says she seemed to be drunk and one of her friends called police. After hitting another woman and questioning why they're in America, Upton says she wants to be civil, but gets angry when the women say they don't feel safe and attacks them again.
I overstepped my bounds, and I'm sorry.
But gets angry again when they say they don't feel safe.
I'm all of 100 pounds.
And attacks them again when they keep recording.
Stop videoing me. I swear to God, I will break the camera.
Very humiliating, but more importantly, like that, scared.
It shocked me, it appalled me, and it really made a lot of people in our community very concerned.
Way here.
The executive director at the Council on American Islamic Relations, DFW, says the South Asian community is taught at a young age that if someone targets you because of your race, religion, ethnicity, to kind of take it and move on, but says he's glad these women didn't.
Oh my God!
One of the women called police, reporting a white woman attacking them. Upton quickly corrected them.
I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican, and I paid my way.
So the reality is that this incident isn't only impacting these 4 ladies, but it's really impacting all South Asians. And I think what's really shocking for us, and even our board member who's a Mexican American, is that this woman uses her heritage to insult and discriminate against another group of people. And we just want to make it clear that that's not what the Mexican American community stands for, which in our press release, our board member who's Mexican American said that.
First tonight, a community divided after a bulldozer is featured during the India Day Parade in Edison. Now it's seen by many as a symbolic attack on Muslims.
People who make this parade a yearly tradition at first didn't really get the bulldozer.
Bulldozer also from a distance, I didn't really make too much of it.
But then he saw pictures of the politicians and it started to resonate. Advocacy groups have accused the Indian government of so-called bulldozer justice, said to be illegal demolitions of largely Muslim-owned property.
The symbol of the bulldozer
is a clear message of intimidation
against India's religious minorities. Most in India are Hindu. He also says it shows the parade's positive message was hijacked.
The entire parade, not just this bulldozer, was about their political view in India and not necessarily all Indian Americans.
An apology today from the Indian Business Association. Now, the New Jersey chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations acknowledges the apology. They say the parade should celebrate India's independence and rich culture and diversity.
Well, this morning, a new report is shining light on hate crimes targeting Muslim New Yorkers. The study found an alarming number of incidents and that many are not reported to authorities. After months of research and interviews, the Council on American Islamic Relations found 64% of Muslims in New York City have experienced a hate crime or bias incident. The study says only 4% of the victims reported hate crimes to police.
They think calling law enforcement is not valuable, that it won't produce any type of results.
Well, New York Attorney General Letitia James responded to the survey saying, quote, more needs to be done to protect and support Muslim New Yorkers.
In less than 24 hours, a mosque will open in Troy, but it's still in the middle of a massive legal battle. At first, there was a fight between the mosque and the city of Troy over whether the house of worship could even open.
Now there's a fight over the money owed to the mosque.
The city of Troy has acted egregiously since 2018 with regards to this case.
The Council on American Islamic Relations Michigan is representing the mosque.
The money that we're asking for is not excessive. It's very much in line with settlements that are very recent for the same issues in other cities in the state of Michigan. We're also asking for actual damages.
Certainly we're not even considering settlements so long as they're demanding well over $1 million in damages. Frankly, there's 7 of us on council. That's not just one of our decisions to make. We have a difficulty sharing what's happening behind closed doors in legal settlement discussions and posturing, and the other side has been very free with what they've said, and we just can't do that. We're restricted by statute.
Well, police generally have to either get a warrant or have probable cause in order to be able to search your cell phone. But government agents don't have to have either of those things at the international border. When you are coming into the country or leaving, the government actually has pretty broad authority to search whatever you bring with you, including electronic devices. So today, a Virginia man is challenging at least some of that authority here at the federal courthouse in Northern Virginia.
He was locked in a room. Officers, some of whom identified themselves and some of who didn't, would ask him questions, invasive questions. Eventually, he would stop responding to those questions, as is his right. During the beginning, he did. They would take his device and demand his password, and then they would just leave him in the room for several hours. And then they finally let him go, which they have to because he is a U.S. citizen, not accused of a crime. He has an absolute right to enter the country.
You can vote using your phone. Should the government have unrestricted access to your devices when entering the country? Well, you can vote at fox5dc.com or scan the QR code on the right side of your screen. 96% of you don't think so, which there you go. Continue voting. We'll check the results a little bit later on.
Hey, thanks. Tonight, there are calls for a, quote, independent and transparent investigation into a recent police shooting. On Saturday, we told you about how Phoenix officers shot and killed Ali Osman. Police say he was throwing rocks at squad cars driving by and at officers once they got out to investigate. Osman was shot after allegedly refusing to drop a rock. Family telling ABC 15 Osman had mental health issues. And today, the Arizona chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations called for an outside review of that shooting, not done by Phoenix police. There are still a lot of unanswered questions, but Phoenix PD says they will be releasing their critical incident with the body camera of this shooting next Friday.
In a TV9 update, the largest civil rights group in the nation is calling on 2 teenagers in Marion to face hate crime charges. That's after police arrested them for a series of car thefts and spray painting KKK and swastikas around town this past summer. Now, 2 19-year-olds face 7 charges each related to that incident. Their names are Gary Jacobson III and Zane Wilcox Thomas. Charges include burglary and criminal mischief. Police say security camera footage and images on a cell phone linked them to the case. Police are pursuing charges on a 3rd person as well, but none of them face a hate crime charge. In a statement released today, police say while hate speech and racist graffiti are vile, they do not constitute a hate crime unless other factors are present. Now, that includes targeting a specific person or group for their race, religion, sexual orientation, or other identities. Police say in this case, the graffiti was random, not targeting any specific group. The suspects also said they didn't target anyone, that's according to police. But the Council on American Islamic Relations doesn't buy that. CAIR's National Deputy Director, Edward Ahmed Mitchell, argued prosecutors need to look again, saying if vandalizing property and causing thousands of dollars in damage while spray painting Nazi swastikas doesn't constitute a hate crime under Iowa law needs to change.
Department of Justice officials are trying to find out who sent a truck with a digital billboard to circle 3 Jersey Islamic centers last weekend, the truck with images of the 2008 terror attacks in Mumbai, India. Joining me now is the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations for New Jersey, Salahuddin Maksud. Do you view this as bias intimidation?
Bias intimidation, but also a form of harassment. It's an attempt to make Muslims feel guilty for a crime that they had nothing to do with, a crime that happened many years ago in a very, very far place from Jersey.
Can you explain to me the significance of the 2008 attack? This was an attack by Islamist terrorists in Mumbai, India.
Whoever the attack was by or wherever it happened, it has nothing to do with what is going on in New Jersey. Muslims in Piscataway, Edison, and North Brunswick, should not have to face this type of harassment for an issue that has nothing to do with them.
So the actual content of what was on the truck, do you view it as something that's somehow in a twisted way designed to foster guilt or to brutally intimidate people?
It's an attempt to almost throw dirt in the face of Muslims. It's a type of harassment. It's a way to say, your community, your faith is responsible for this heinous act. And it's unjust, unfair, and it is at its root an anti-Muslim, anti-Islamic type of hatred.
Do you see this as part of a trend, or do you view right now this as an isolated incident, even though there were 3 mosques?
Unfortunately, it is a trend. And what's happening in India is now spilling into Jersey. And we're seeing a rise of Hindutva, or the kind of Hindu nationalist movement that is inspiring this type of anti-Muslim hatred.